at 162 San Francisco Tower. Wind is 270 at 24, runway 28 right, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, 28 right, exit jet 162.
Your flight 1358 San Francisco Tower, runway 28, last line of runway traffic on a 3.5 mile final, be ready to go.
Good, last line of runway, we'll be ready for clear 1358.
6472, contact NorCal departure.
Call NorCal, go.
Your flight 1358, traffic off your right will be a right-hand turn, traffic's 2 out, wind 270 at 19, runway 28 left, clear for takeoff.
Good, last 4 rolling, clear for takeoff, for clear 1358.
Instructor corps that's part of, the instructors for West Valley are unlike instructors you'll find almost anywhere else. I mean, these are not kids looking to build hours to go onto the airlines. These are all people that have been there, done that, and now this is what they really want to do.
So I'm the general manager of the flying club. That means I'm responsible for pretty much all the operations. So the instructors, the maintenance, the staff that run the club. Most of the flying clubs are actually for-profit operations, and West Valley is a not-for-profit flying club. So it's a much more community-based focus on safety and community and fun, as opposed to it's an operation that rents planes just for the sake of making money. So that was what attracted me in the first place. The other thing, it's a big club. So we're the second largest flying club in the nation.
I chose West Valley in the 90s because essentially you have, almost feels like a family. It's a non-profit club where all of the members support each other, and it's not like there's one owner who is looking to maximize profits and runs the business in that way. It's run by, board of directors are elected by the members, and everything is done for the members, by the members. From an instructor perspective, deciding where I wanted to work, where I wanted to teach people, again, it was very clear to come kind of home back to West Valley, because the combination of the equipment, the resources in terms of simulators and classrooms and everything that we have above and beyond just the airplane.
It's the history, so 42 plus years of history. There's other clubs that have been around just a few years. So the history, the not-for-profit, it's a club, large selection of airplanes, a big variety of airplanes. So we have all kinds of different planes for different, tastes. Lots of flight instructors with lots of different experience levels. My experience with aviation is if you don't have the passion, you don't finish. It's one of those hobbies and sports where if you don't have the will, it will not happen. So you have to have the passion, you have to keep the passion, and you have to have the money. And if it takes you longer than you thought it was, you have to have even more money, because the longer you take, the more money you spend. So the people who really have the passion and the deep pockets can get to the finish line, so to speak.
It's tough because you need that elusive combination of both time and money, and rarely do you have them both together.
I don't think that you need the deep pockets to fly. I think that that is a barrier to entry, and I think a lot of people do think that because it is expensive. That's why we're trying to make it cheaper. However, most of the flying community that I'm a part of, they don't have deep pockets at all. They are, working class, 9 to 5, 7 to 7, people who are put in a lot of hours to pursue something that they love, and they make it work. And it's not people who are stuck up or rich, it's people who are truck drivers or airline pilots or mailmen, or those are the people who I look at. When I think of pilots, those are the faces I see.
Time and money just facilitates it. Yeah. It doesn't initiate it. I don't think anyone really decides to become a pilot. It's something that you're born with. It's a passion that you have that's deep inside of you, and it's just a case of, are you willing to let that come out? Do you want that to come out or not? And like, for example, for me, I knew ever since I was a little kid that the only thing I wanted to do was be an airline pilot. And I had a couple of uncles that were airline pilots, and I just thought it was the greatest thing. And airplane was the first word, believe it or not, that I said after Mom.
Yeah, it's just either there, it's sort of in your veins. You either have the aviation bug or gene, or you don't.
Some people, especially here in the Valley, some people see flying, it seems, as a technical thing to be conquered. So some people, the motivation is they sort of want to prove to themselves or to others that they can become a pilot, they can master that skill. So sometimes that's the motivation.
I think aviation with a lot of other things. This isn't limited just to aviation, but when you have a passion and you can share that with somebody, all of a sudden the other stuff doesn't matter, because it's me and you, and we're friends, and we're gonna work on this together, and you kind of set your differences aside when you have a common goal and you have stuff to relate over. And I think that's, like I said, not limited to aviation, but definitely something that aviation brings out in people, which is wonderful.
The motivation has to come from the individual. If they're interested in flying, that's sort of my job, is help them learn to fly.
When I talk about diversity, I'm definitely not talking about age, but I'm also not talking about wealth. That it spans a lot of people. I'm talking more about interests and bringing people together from different cliques. It would be like if you took a high school and you're all out on the quad for lunch, and you just picked a person from each group, it's like the mean girls and the, whatever, and brought them all together. That's what the flying community is about, because it has the strength to hold those people together in a situation that they wouldn't be able to necessarily interact otherwise. And that's what I think is really special, and that's what's diverse.
Well, one of the things that I find in flying is it seems to cut across all sorts of backgrounds, gender, etc. I mean, the expression that my wife and I use a lot is pilots are pilots. And one time I did a flight up to Klamath Falls, and I was in a 182 or something. It was just a small 4-seat Cessna. And I landed there, and I actually pulled up in the ramp next to, it was an F-18. And this F-18 pilot gets out, and he and I both walk over to this building, and we start chatting. And the conversation is, we're both just pilots. We're just both chatting about being pilots, and what's the weather like today, and how's your flight going, and we're all just pilots. So it sort of, whether you're an airline pilot, a military pilot, a civilian pilot, whether you're rich and famous as your normal job. I mean, just recently Harrison Ford, he's very well known, personality and all, but I can almost guarantee you that if we bumped each other in the context of flying somewhere, we'd just be two pilots talking to each other. And so that's one of the things I like about the community of flying, in that most of the other stuff, the sort of social stratification and all that, kind of fades away.
I'm just happy that I was able to give up the expectations of everyone else and trying to live up to their standard of success. And I was able to go find my own definition of success. And flying, and now specifically flight instructing flying, having done this for 20 years and thousands of hours and all the different kind of flying that I've done, this is the job that I enjoy the most.
Definitely for me, it's going places I haven't been to before, discovering the country or the state at you either see the country from the road or from 35,000 feet in a jetliner. And there's something unique about seeing the country from only 5,000 feet up or only 4,000 feet up. You get a very different perspective. So for me, it's going and seeing new places, discovering new places. That's what really is my passion, I think.
When you're learning with your instructor next to you, it doesn't really hit you that you're flying. You're defying gravity, you're doing something that people aren't naturally supposed to do, and you don't get that feeling until you're by yourself and you're in the airplane, and you take that first, lift off, take off, and it's a magical, amazing feeling.
It's extremely rewarding to see your students do well, do better, enjoy it. I get to relive all of the excitement that I had when I was first learning, watching their eyes and thinking, this is what it was like, and it's pretty special.